Welcome to the Men's Conference Podcast. I'm your host, DC, and definitely I am joined by my awesome twin brother, and that is Laz.
Pretty obvious.
What?
I said pretty obvious.
No. I'm the awesome one. I'm the awesome twin here. I think we should fight to the death.
Yeah.
So anyway, get to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is the Men's Conference Podcast. Get to follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. That is the Men's Conference Podcast. And of course, as usual, we are joined by two amazing people. Introduce yourselves.
Ladies first.
I was about to say men's first.
Ish.
Men's
Doesn't
conference,
exist.
so
Doesn't
men
exist.
first.
Trust
I
me,
know.
it's not there.
As men's conference,
We're gentlemen.
We're
We're
gentlemen.
gentlemen. Okay,
Sure.
I like that. My name is Fungai Maronga. It is such an honor and a privilege to be here.
No,
Thank you
amazing.
for having me.
No, you're definitely welcome. I haven't seen you in like 8 years.
It's been that long.
It's been that long.
Wow.
So I thought to myself, I need to have Mrs. M here.
Thank you so much.
And I'm also
so honored.
very curious. Like before coming in, and as a lady yourself, what was your perspective on the men's conference before showing up here?
Well, that it's a pretty heated podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
We see you out here in these streets.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also thought it was very interesting
Mhm.
and enlightening. Some subjects, of
Yeah.
course, there are things that I may not agree with, but I like the fact that you're bold and courageous enough to have the conversations.
Yeah, that nobody's having.
Yes.
People are afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of women seem to assume that.
Wait,
we
guys,
hate
I did not
what?
introduce myself.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
how
yeah.
old?
Exactly.
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. I
This is
don't
what
know.
you do when there's a lady,
Yeah.
right? Guys.
There's a power of a lady.
Yes,
But
Already.
I'm joking, fine, for sure. No, mine is lucky, yeah, but she guys can continue, it's fine.
no, you
I
can
take
take
it, bro.
No,
I'm
that's
a
good.
man.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm lucky, and I'm here to the men's podcast. I'm so excited. So yeah, let's see what we have here.
Okay, I'm sure you've got a lot of things to say because you and I share a group, so we're in the same
Bro.
group.
I want to crush this.
Oh my, should I be scared?
I don't know. I
I
don't know
know,
how tough you
no.
are.
In the presence of us men, don't be scared. You are safe.
Safe,
you know?
absolutely.
So, like you were saying you had a different perspective on, the men's conference.
Yeah, no, he was saying actually that a lot of women think that you do what?
Like we hate women and all that.
Oh.
They assume just because when they see us online, they assume, no, these guys are this, they're that, they're what. Yeah. So they don't actually take the opportunity to like watch the entire thing to get a
Okay.
different perspective of what we're trying to tell people and
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Okay, so even if I didn't watch it, I mean, just him being on the show, I would say, okay, it's a good place to be.
You see? Me and Mrs. Emma got a very close relationship going. It's fantastic. Okay.
Trying to
Even though we
flatter
haven't,
you, bro.
I know. Even though we haven't seen each
No.
other in a
We
long
go
time.
way back.
Yes, we go way back.
compliment. Distinguish that, bro.
No.
We go way back.
Even though we haven't seen each
We
other
got a
in while.
history.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
right,
Exactly.
right,
And
right.
it's good to actually have you here, especially you guys as well. It's
Sure,
good to
thank
have
you.
I'm
Thank
sure you've
you.
got a lot to say, and we can't wait to hear what you
Bro.
guys have to say. Because a lot of guys out there have been struggling with especially relationships, mental wise as well, and those are the fundamental things that a lot of guys now, young guys, are actually going through, and they would want to hear different perspectives on what you guys have to say, and it's pretty fun. Can't wait to dive into the topic, but before we actually do that, I'd like to ask Mrs. M, ladies first.
Whatever.
Like, what are your thoughts on the dating scene these days, especially Musaka?
Well, I'm not in the dating scene.
No,
We
I know,
just see
I
from
know.
observation.
I know. But I'm sure you've observed what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And you're probably wondering, why are people in relationships behaving like this?
Yeah. Man, I'm glad I got married very early.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think right now it feels like the atmosphere around the dating scene is pretty tense. I think there's a lot that's going on, and I'm hoping we can talk about it a little bit more. Or do you want me to just dive into it? But for now, I'll just say there's so much that's going on. There's so much that needs to be unpacked from men and women. People are broken, and they're getting into relationships broken and breaking each other further.
Yeah.
That's my observation.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of blame game that's happening. So no, it's the men. No, it's the women. No, what? But if we really take a closer look at what's happening, it's really because there are individuals who are carrying their brokenness into relationships and expecting other people to fix their brokenness when there's only one who can.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happening, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a manifestation of broken individuals,
Yeah.
you know,
No, very
trying to
true.
make something work.
Yeah, very true. Because more especially when I open TikTok, I'm just seeing men and women, going against each other. Men are trash, women are this, and I'm like, guys.
But don't you think that someone has to take the blame for like, since you said relationships nowadays are not like stable, working and all that, don't you think one side needs to be held accountable for it instead of both sides?
I believe that if you want a relationship to work, you need two individuals to sit down and be mature enough to talk
Take
to each other.
accountability.
Exactly. Like when I received a message from a certain lady a couple of weeks back, she was telling me about how she was arguing with her boyfriend. They would play these games with each other. She would hide his watch. He would block her, and I was like, okay, hold up. What you guys are doing is now childish. There is no way all of you can be this childish. One of you has to be the bigger person to sit down and say, you know what, let's stop this. I'm the bigger person, let me apologize for what I did and whatnot. But the fact is that a lot of people are now going head to head with each other, to see who will be the one to back down. When meanwhile, it's just making things worse. More especially in Osaka, a lot of people are getting into relationships, like you said, they are broken. They can't handle their stuff. They can't handle their issues. And it's pretty sad, to see, relationships that last for 6 years go down the drain, or because this person wasn't the bigger person to actually, settle things down or to talk things out, so.
But don't you feel you attract what you are? So like, if you're broken, there's a high chance you're going to attract somebody who's broken, because you can't be broken and then attract somebody who's like fulfilled, happy inside.
So when you mean broken, like what do you mean exactly?
Okay, from my own experience, right, and my own observation, I've noticed that we go through a lot of stuff, especially when we're young, either through seeing what our parents are going through, maybe your mother is mistreated and whatnot, and then as a man who's grown up seeing your mother is mistreated, you almost grow up with that need to get validation from a woman, right?
Yeah.
But then you're going to get it from a toxic woman. And then you find that when you're with a good woman, it's not just making sense, right? You don't have that spark, that attraction.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, like, how do I always end up with the same type of women?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're broken inside, and then by extension, you always attract the opposite side that is equal to you, right? So, but if you work on yourself, you recognize your mistake. Okay, like, fine. Okay, you know what? My parents messed up, and I'm not going to be held. I'm not going to be in bondage for that. I'm going to heal myself. And then when you heal, you find that if that person that you're with is not maybe changing or also adapting, you find that you just kind of lose attraction, and then you begin to attract like just new individuals that you never even knew that exist in your life, right? Yeah, so for me, I feel like, first of all, you should just work on yourself. But if you don't work on yourself, you cannot change the other person, because even if you dump them or leave them, high chances that you're going to attract the same type of person. Right, I'm sure you've seen men or women that say, I always find myself with the same type of man. All men are this and that. You know what I mean? She's saying all men are this and that, but there's some women out there that say men are awesome, like Fungi, right?
Yeah.
Men are good. You know what I mean? But the truth is that because she's healed inside, right? She doesn't. If she had those traumas, perhaps she's healed. Yeah. So she's good, and definitely if she's good, she attracts good. Yeah. So for me, that's my thought. Yeah. On the same.
No, it's like what she said. If you're broken, how can you enter in? How can you get into a relationship? So you definitely need to heal yourself.
Sure, definitely.
A lot of people are actually taking the blame game here, left, right, and center, and they're not actually being mature enough to sit down and communicate. This is what I was even telling a couple of people. Relationship takes, if you want a relationship to work, takes two people. This is
Yeah.
why when a child grows up in a home, it takes the mother and the father to make that child be successful in life.
True.
You know, this is why you find that when the father is either not around or when the mother is not around, a child doesn't really grow up normally like other children with a two-parent household.
True.
You know, it's never like 100% because, you know, the mother adds value, the father adds value into the child. So basically, relationships in Zambia are never really talked about. Most podcasts, or I should say most people actually dive into just entertainment and whatnot. But what about the guys that are, you know, going through that? Because this is why a lot of guys actually, you know, commit suicide, because relationship trauma is actually one of the reasons why they actually kill themselves. Because I remember a couple of months back, this guy had texted me saying that if it wasn't for you guys, I would have ended my life. I was like, damn, okay. So I'm so glad that we are actually letting men speak out on issues like this, because a lot of men have no idea how to handle relationships. They have no idea. You and all of us right here might know that this is 1 + 1 is 2, but for them is 1 + 1 is 1,000. How did I get there? You know, so this is why we're here to actually, you know, set up instructions on how to actually go about life.
Sure.
You know,
And I'd like to say something. Sorry to cut you short.
it's okay.
What really causes men to commit suicide, right? From my perspective, is first of all lack of self-love. So because you don't love yourself enough, right? As a man, there's some things that you have to do that would enhance your love, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you won't love yourself. Whether you make thousands affirmations or love myself, it won't work, right?
Yeah.
So, and part of it is being disciplined, having a mission, having a goal, pursuing after something bigger than life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every time you're challenging yourself, you're building self-love,
Yeah.
because at the end of that journey, you feel victorious, right? Like,
Yeah.
damn, I did it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Feel good, right? And that builds self-love, self-confidence. And then when you have self-confidence, definitely you attract people that have self-confidence.
Yeah.
And then that's the network that you have, right? People who are doing fine, what, and then, you know, your career can easily escalate, right?
Yeah.
But then, here's a man, low self-love, low self-esteem, then accidentally bumps into a beautiful woman, you know, shows him some love, and then he's never seen it before. And then now he's getting validation from her. He's getting his sense of worth, his sense of importance from the woman, right? So he's living off the woman. And then, you know, these are the people that shortly he wants to show you the woman, like, hey, my woman, look, she's beautiful and whatnot. Because on his own, he's got low self-worth.
Yeah.
And then a woman, she doesn't want to be the provider of those emotions, right?
Yeah.
She actually wants you to provide her. She wants you to focus. And then because you're not focusing on yourself, on your life, then she loses interest.
Yeah.
And then, you know, women quickly move on.
Yeah,
you
very
know,
much.
at least at
Oh,
best,
I thought guys quickly move.
women move
No,
on. And at
women-
best,
I'm
any
serious.
And I think it depends on the type of guy, though.
Oh,
Because if
okay.
it's a guy who has access to multiple women, yeah, that's a guy that can move on. But
No,
most guys.
but do you know
nowadays-
why? Do you know why guys end up that way?
Yeah.
Because they were, you know,
Broken.
broken before.
But I doubt that. I doubt that guys completely move on. We just know how to act.
Yeah.
We're perfect at
True,
acting.
for sure.
You
I
know,
see.
and we've got also brothers as well that would tell us to say, hey, bro, don't text us. Delete the
Yeah.
number. You know, delete. You know,
Yeah,
you
for
can't
sure.
be going back. You'll be broken again.
Okay.
You know, it's just that because a lot of women, this is my opinion, a lot of women are emotional, so they know how to, like, you know, express themselves. You know, but a lot of guys don't know how to express themselves. You know, they express themselves in drugs, alcohol,
Yep.
you know,
Yeesh.
all that stuff. You know, they stop working on themselves. They stop being ambitious. Like, I remember watching this TikTok video. This Nigerian guy said that when my girlfriend broke up with me, I stopped everything that I did. I stopped being ambitious. I stopped focusing on myself. I just lost it. I was like, damn.
So that means that goes back to what he said about the validation. He got his validation from
Yeah,
the girl.
sure.
You know
True.
that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say something with regards to what you were talking about healing, and I think it's very important for us to understand that true healing comes from Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what we are seeing is people that are trying to heal themselves when they don't actually have the capacity to carry the burdens that they have. And I've seen, I'll give an example even of myself. Like you were asking, what is brokenness, right?
Yeah.
I would say that when we are born into this world, we are so innocent, and then life happens. So life could either be in the form of sexual abuse, it could be emotional abuse, it could be you being a witness to physical abuse between parents, it could be you being a witness to violence, it could you being exposed rather to all these things that then affect your perspective on what life should be, and it really does injure people. I think we take for granted how much certain things affect us as we are growing up, you know, whether it's your relationship with your parents or your parents' relationship with each other, or whether it is whether you were bullied going to school and so forth and so on. So there's so many things that can contribute to you seeing life in a certain way. Now, I also want to say that more so than you being broken is the lens at which you look through life being broken, or rather being dirty, because you have experienced all these traumatic things, right? It affects the way you view the world, right? So when, for example, you approach me as a single woman, you're a good man, you are a Christian man, you pray, you have a decent job, you are polite, you are kind-hearted, you open the car door for me when we're jumping into a yango, and all that jazz, right? And then because the lens at which I am looking through is broken, or rather is dirty, right? I look at that as weakness. I look at that as, what's wrong with him? Why is he like this? You know, and that is the reality of what we're seeing on the ground. So the things that are good, people don't see as good anymore. You know, as now we are seeing a lot more people talking about the fact that if you don't drive a car, you're not worthy to be in a relationship. Since when? Who made that the standard? Right? Like, how is that the standard? Right? Like that to me is just screaming trauma. Like, what did you go through? And even like growing up in a household where you had a lot of lack, you know, going through, not even if you didn't grow up in a household where you had lack, if you just had a season in your life where you were just going without, do you know, even you coming out of that season is hard, because you have to reprogram yourself to remind yourself that, oh, I'm no longer in the season of lack. Now I can buy things for myself. I can buy things for my loved ones. I can. All these things affect the way we view the world. It affects the way we view people. You know, if we have been in multiple relationships, we've had multiple sexual partners, that will affect us, whether we like it or not. And I know this is very unpopular to the generation that we are in now. Sex is a spiritual act. You cannot be bouncing from this person to that person and expect to remain normal. I remember a time in my marriage when I was heavily promiscuous, cheating on my husband, and my husband was cheating on me. Do you know what then happened? Certain spirits were introduced into our marriage, and I tried to commit suicide, something that had never crossed my mind. Where do you think it came from? Everybody carries something.
True.
When you open yourself up to people, you're opening spiritual doorways. And this is why the Word of God insists that we have sex in the confines of marriage. That is a protected space. If you choose to do it outside, that's on you, fam. And you're going to have to deal with the consequences that come with it. You know, but the original design is that we wait for marriage and we have sex within marriage. Anything that defiles the marriage bed will affect you. So we can't be dancing at the devil's party and expect not to get high. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's we want the best of both worlds. And it doesn't work that way. It's either black or white. So you are going to have to make a personal decision as an individual. What is it that you want for your life, right? What path do you want to take, right? How do you want to see the world? How do you want to see people? And you were talking about how a lot of people, like, they just have difficulties in relationships, right? For me, I am a firm believer in speaking life into your life, speaking life into your situation.
Affirmations, right?
More than affirmations. The word of God tells us that we have life and death are in the power of the tongue. So if you're going to constantly say men are trash, you are going to meet trash.
True.
That's all you're going to find.
Exactly.
If you're going to constantly say that women are horrible, women are horrible.
You're going to attract
Women are horrible.
Yeah.
You're going to attract
You're gonna
horrible
attract-
women.
exactly.
You know, if you're going to say women have daddy issues, you're going to attract those.
And I
you
think
know?
probably it's because as well most men and women are not told the realities of the world. They're not like prepared and said, listen, once you go into the world, once you meet different kinds of people, this is how they're gonna behave. Not everyone's gonna be the same, because once you go through the world with a prepared mindset like that, it's easy for you not to be disappointed for what you see now. Like, let's say, okay, if this girl that I pursued or this guy that I pursued doesn't like me back, it's fine. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
Not everyone's gonna like you.
Sure.
You know, this is why I tell people to believe in things. You need the universe, God. If you're always speaking negative, like you said, you're always speaking negative about yourself, negative about people, that's what you are going to receive. The secret of the universe and God is that you have to always believe in something. This is why I really never like to listen to people that speak negative about dreams. You know, even though that dream is far-fetched, you can never tell that person that this you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because you need to speak life into them and speak life into yourself as well. Tell yourself that, Appa, I will go far with this kind of project that I'm pushing. And believe you me, it might take like a couple of months, a year, but believe you me, every year you're making at least some progress closer to your dream. You know, you're getting closer to your dream. And that is something that a lot of people these days are lacking. They're lacking belief. There's no God anymore. They're not believing in Him anymore, all because of what social media has brainwashed them into thinking. And I'm not saying social media is bad. It's what they're feeding. That's what they're eating up on social media. You know, they're watching, women twerk. You know, they're watching, pornography. You know, they're watching all these erotic things that actually confuse their minds, and they're there seated in the room, you know, indulging in that kind of behavior, when meanwhile they're supposed to go work on themselves outside, men and women, you know. So it's definitely sad to see a lot of young men actually indulging in such activities, you know. But before we actually get deep into it, of course the topic is how to keep a man.
Someone reminding you, like,
You know,
drifting away.
because that topic sounds so good, I think they should make a movie about it.
Yes.
How to keep a man.
Because a lot of the time, a lot of men have been taught how to keep a woman. You need money, you need to be fit, you need to have a car, you need to have a house, you need to do this kind of activities in order to keep a woman. But what about a woman? How can a woman keep a man? You've been married for a long time, and we definitely want to know, how did you manage
17
to keep
years.
Exactly.
Something, man.
It's no joke.
Yeah,
it is
for
no
sure.
joke, you know.
I'm sure you know people who've been married longer.
Not quite. These
not
days
quite.
marriages end quite soon.
Like
Too many
5
divorce
years,
rates.
7 years, you know.
Maybe
Yeah.
3 months, 6 months after that.
Yeah. There are people like that. I'm shocked.
Sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
I know a lady who works at a law firm. She was telling me that most couples just come in after being married for 3 months. No, I'm here to divorce my husband. So I'm like, what?
Why?
But have you noticed that women like the divorce courts or whatever? You know, it's always the women who like back off the marriage.
Yeah, true.
It's rare that a man would like go for a divorce.
Yeah, I think
It's
because of-
women.
Yeah, true.
But anyways, before we get deep into that,
Yeah.
let's hear what
Oh,
what's your secret side?
So I will say this. I have no idea how to keep a man,
Sure.
because
Interesting.
one of the greatest lessons I learned from being married to my husband, and I can't speak for boyfriend and girlfriend relationships.
Yeah.
I can speak for being married to my husband, is that you can never make a man do what he does not want to do.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. if there is
17 years, bro.
anything I have learned,
Yeah. Okay.
is that men have been gifted with the power of making decisions. Women have been gifted with influence,
True. Yeah, makes sense.
but men are decision makers.
Yeah.
And when a man decides that he wants to marry you, fam, he'll marry you.
Yeah.
If he's not marrying you,
Mm-hmm.
chances are he probably doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And he's either not ready or he doesn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something I've learned from my husband is in the 17 years of my marriage, I cannot control that man, and I cannot make him do what he doesn't want to do. So I think that was one of the greatest things that I learned being married to him was, wow, there is nothing that he's not an object. He's a living, breathing human being
Nice.
who God has ordained to watch over me.
Yeah.
So there is nothing that I can do to control that man.
Nice.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
If you are living with a man that you are controlling or rather manipulating,
Yeah.
that is witchcraft, number one.
Yeah.
Yes, and you are going to be very miserable.
True.
Because a man that you can control is an unhappy man.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And you will be very unhappy. You actually will pay for that in the long run.
I agree.
And it's something that actually made me very happy. And you know what? The reality of this beautiful thing called marriage is that we are given assignments by God in marriage. The man has a clear role to play, and a woman has a clear role to play. And together, if we play our roles well, in a way that glorifies and honors God, it will work. Marriage, it's not that marriage is not great, it's the people that are failing to do marriage the way that God ordained it. Marriage is a beautiful thing. It is incredibly beautiful. However, the people fail to use the product the way the manufacturer intended it to be used. So of course it'll malfunction.
Yeah.
Of course the divorce rates are high.
Yeah.
Of course people are unhappy. People have grown so impatient with one another. The other thing that I learned being married to my husband is patience. My husband and I married when we were 19. We were fooling around and we fell pregnant after 4 months. And my husband said to me, well, let's get married. I was like,
Okay.
you sure? You're
fine.
19. It's
Yeah.
okay if you say you don't want this.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I was okay with it. But he was
Yeah.
like, no, if I don't marry you, chances are I'm gonna go away and I'm gonna have kids with other women. And I don't want that. And I may not love you, but I will grow to love you. And I know the same for you. And I want this child to be raised with the both of us together. The power with that was that my husband made that decision. I don't think we'd be together if he hadn't made that decision.
Yeah.
He decided. I was okay with him saying, I'm too young, I can't do this. I was ready for that because we were 19.
Yeah.
What were we doing?
Yeah.
Family, oh my gosh, family was upset.
Obviously.
And they had good reason because some of them came from a genuine place, like you're too young. You know, you haven't seen the world. And he kept telling them, if I don't marry her, if I don't do right by her, it will never be well with me. And he was 19. Where do you think that came from, right?
Yeah.
His father passed away when he was 3 years old.
Wow.
Like, who gave him that kind of guidance, right? So we got married at 19, and it was hard. It was really hard. I remember he was set to go to college, and so was I. Some of his family members pulled back resources and said, if you marry this girl, we're not going to help you with anything. And he was like, it's fine. We'll make it work. It was hard. Fam, we were broke off the brocade. You know what I mean? Like, we struggled.
Yeah.
We struggled so much, but we decided that we were going to stick it out. We decided that, hey, we want this child to be raised with both parents. We're going to make it work. So of course, being parents and spouses at that age and that young meant that we had to wake up super quick.
Yeah.
I had to go look for work. He also had to start. We moved into his into the plot that his father left for him.
Yeah.
And he started farming.
Mhm.
That day, he learned how to be a farmer.
Mhm.
I learned how to hustle, look
Mhm.
for work,
Mhm.
and we were contributing, and not to add salt to the injury.
Mhm.
We had other responsibilities
Mm.
because he had cousins that were very young
Mhm.
that had lost their fathers that
Mm.
needed to be taken care of.
Mm.
And because the house that we moved into used to be the house that his grandfather lived in,
Yeah.
and his grandfather passed away, now there was no one to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
Everybody else was out of the country.
Yeah.
So it was either they go to the village
Mm.
or they stay with us. And for me, I said, let them stay, let them finish school,
Mhm.
and then they can do whatever they want after that.
Mhm.
So we stayed with them. We stayed with them for a while, and we raised them. We didn't do a great job because we were kids ourselves, but we tried. We tried with what we could.
Mm.
And I'm saying all this to really just say that it may not be smooth sailing,
Mhm.
but if you decide that this is what I want to do and I want to do it well,
Mhm.
and I will go with God,
Mm.
there's absolutely nothing that you cannot do.
Mm.
So I think one of the greatest challenges that we're seeing in our society today is that people are getting married and they have unrealistic expectations.
True.
I have unrealistic expectations of him. He
Mhm.
has unrealistic expectations of me.
Mhm.
And like I said, people are not getting counseling. Why aren't you getting counseling before you get married?
True.
Like, why aren't you talking to a therapist on your own before you get married,
Mhm.
right? Your church, what role do they play
Mhm.
in ensuring that you guys have a successful marriage? And I also want to talk about how the culture has changed itself.
Mhm.
When I was getting married to my husband, we had a lot of cultural things that we needed to do, right? So we couldn't just get married. There were our aunties that were at play.
Mhm.
There were negotiations going back and forth, right? There was sit downs from my side of the family, his side of the family.
Yeah.
And then even when I did marry him, there was sit downs from his family to mine. And then I also got the opportunity to live with his grandmother. So I also then was taught certain things, about marriage and about the men in that family.
Mm.
Because remember, we're coming from somewhere. You're not just on your own where you
Yeah.
are. There's your father, there's your grandfather, there's your great grandfather,
Yeah.
your uncles are there as well, right?
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to learn what the weaknesses in the family were because I spoke to the women in the family.
Mhm.
That doesn't happen anymore. So when your husband starts dealing with certain difficulties, it's a shock to you because no one told you about this.
True.
You never saw it, the red flags, so they are called nowadays,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The red flags. But also there are green flags,
Yeah.
that I was told about in the family. So
Mhm.
there's all these things that I'd play. We have completely abandoned culture and we think that it's useless. But when my husband and I tried to separate a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
do you know who came rallying for us?
Mm.
Our families.
Really?
Yes. They refused.
Nice.
Okay.
They refused. They said, you people got married. You brought us together. If you want to get divorced, we must be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the preservation that comes with our culture
Mhm.
in Africa.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate that we're trying to adopt this Western culture and it's not working for us.
True. True.
It's not working for us.
True.
And it never will.
No, it won't.
Because it's not ours.
Exactly.
Yes. What will work for us is preservation.
Mhm.
And in our culture, there are systems that are put in place in order to preserve even marriages.
Mhm.
So, yeah, people complain about lobola. Yes, lobola is not about buying a bride.
Mhm.
It's about appreciating the family for
Mhm.
taking care of this wonderful wife for you, right?
Mhm.
Sure.
When you're now going back and you're having problems, you don't just walk into a courtroom and you sign, no one at home knows.
Yeah.
And then everyone is just getting the shock that, they're divorced.
How?
How? How did that happen? It shouldn't be like that. The state shouldn't have a say over your marriage, because who is the state? Think about it. Even in the Word of God, the state is never supposed to have precedence over the church or even over individual families. It should never. The state works for you. So how does it help you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But now what we are seeing is that the state is allowing people to get divorced after 3 months. I actually thought there was a 2-year waiting period.
You see? Because these days...
What's
it's
happening?
Exactly, you know?
And that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Because marriage is not a state thing. It's
Yeah.
a God thing.
Yeah.
And we're doing it all wrong when we're doing it this way. So some of the things that preserved my marriage, it's not me. I didn't do it on my own. I had a community of people behind me. I had a church of people who would sit us down and say, what is happening? You cheated on each other. So you know what my mother-in-law said to my husband when he ran to his mom and he said, oh, she cheated on me, yada, 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 yada. You know, she sat him down and she said, son, you are not the first man to be cheated on, and you will not be the last. However, she did make a mistake. She was wrong. But so are you. You have to decide now. Do you want to let go or do you want to stay? But me, I want my daughter-in-law. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I was not there to speak for myself. This
Someone
is
spoke
my
for you.
mother-in-law.
Yeah.
She saw me with her son. She thought, despite my mistakes and my shortcomings, she still believed that I was a good woman. You know what I mean? My mother, I was ready to leave my man. I was ready. I was like, I can do better. I can do bad all by myself.
So wait, I'd like to ask you something, Fungi, though. You did mention quite interesting things about your man, and I get it. I think he's a good man because you did mention he's leading the relationship,
Yeah.
which is good, and I love that. And but I want to ask you something, right?
Yeah.
I know amidst your marriage, things got a little bit twisted, but what
Absolutely.
influenced you to go ahead and cheat? I'm asking you this because I know
Yeah.
a lot of people like to know, right? So what influenced you to like cheat in that period?
Okay.
Do you have the answers handy?
I do.
Sure.
I do.
So,
So I will go back to being a broken individual.
sure.
I grew up, I was molested when I was a kid, and I always felt like I would get validation from men. Like I craved it so much. So when I felt like the validation at home was not enough, and it started coming elsewhere, I found that very appealing.
Okay.
Yes, I would say that is one of the many reasons.
Yeah.
One of the many, right?
And I'm not here to play the blame game
Sure.
on my brokenness, but it is something that I had to come to terms with, and I had to
Sure.
realize that this is actually a problem for me.
Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I got married when I was 19. I had no idea I had baggage.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
True.
But I had a lot of it. And there's so many people with it. They
Yeah.
just don't know how to address it. And I
Yeah.
also just want to say that my baggage manifested that way. Other people's baggage manifests in different ways. So I will always like to remind people that infidelity is not a problem. It's a symptom that there is a problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, true. It does.
It's
It
a
does.
symptom that there's a problem. It's the indicator. It's the thing that you know when your tank is flickering. Yeah, that's what it is. It's showing you that there's something wrong here. You need to address it. And what happens is, because people are not addressing it, people are just being called loose and
Yeah.
whores. I didn't want to say this word, but yeah,
Yeah.
people are just being said that that's what they're being called.
Yeah.
The real issue is not being dealt with. The real issue of, oh my God, this is where this is coming from. And I think when you take the time out to read your Bible, to pray, and to have someone to help you through the process of healing, it allows you to see where your blind spots are. And that's what happened for me. Thank the Lord, it had to take us moving to Zambia to meet a woman of God who helped us through the process. Her and her husband helped us through our issues. Because believe you me, I didn't cheat once. My husband didn't cheat on me once. It happened back and forth. Back and forth. It was not like a remix. Oh, you do it. Oh, I'm gonna do it. Oh, you do it. Oh, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? It was crazy. And then for some strange reason, no one wanted to divorce the other anymore. It was just like, who can hurt who the most?
You're attached to each other.
Wait,
You
so
know what I
when you
mean?
guys were married, like how many years passed before you guys started that journey of,
Infidelity?
Yeah,
About 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 5
So wait,
years.
I'd like to ask you another one. So you're saying that you started back and forth cheating, but you later on still developed love for the man?
For my husband?
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Of course. Like, love is a choice.
The choice, right?
It's a choice. It's not a feeling. You decide to love someone. I don't believe in, oh, I fell in love. Like
Yeah.
it just happened.
Like in the movies.
No, you
Disney
can
movies.
you can
Yeah.
fall in lust.
Yeah.
You can actually, but love is a choice.
Yeah.
Choice,
Yeah,
right?
it's a choice. You
Yeah.
decide who you love.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
Wait.
And-
So
and-
what do you call a situation when, because we heard this story before, right?
Uh.
Where a woman was dating a guy for 7 years, but then whatever problems they went through, they end up separating. But then he ends up marrying a lady he just met for 3 months. So like, what do you call that situation? Like,
I mean, I'll go back to what I said before. If so one of the things that I've also learned from my husband is men decide quickly, and they know when they've met the woman that they want to be with. And it's not just from my husband. I've asked so many married men
Yeah.
because I thought, maybe he's just saying it to make me feel nice.
Yeah.
You know, but I've asked so many married men, even where I work
Yeah.
at Radio Christian Boys, I've asked so many of the men, like, how did you know? And they were like, fam, it was like I met this woman and there were just certain things about her that said, like,
Maria.
that's her.
uh-huh.
That's
so,
her.
so exactly.
That's
So
her,
now,
right?
what kind of things do you think a woman has to do to get that
To
man
get
to
to
decide?
that,
Yeah,
right? So I don't think you have to do anything. To be honest with you, let me not say you don't have to do anything, right? But let me say this. If you are with a man, right, it doesn't, okay, so I'll say this, it doesn't take a man long to decide whether he wants to marry you or not,
Yeah.
right? So if you're a woman and you are unfortunately with a man who's been with you for years on end and he hasn't said anything about marriage, I mean, like, what's
Bound.
going on? Like, what's going on? Like, for me, I'm a firm believer that if he hasn't said anything, he's still telling you, no, I'm not ready.
I mean, there's something wrong.
And
I,
you know,
I,
No,
I,
I mean-
I feel like there's something wrong.
Don't-
Because, like I said before,
Yeah.
like, you can't make a man do anything. So
No,
if
you
he's
can't.
not marrying you, he doesn't want to.
Don't you think that it could be that maybe there are certain
Sometimes.
traits that the woman holds that he's thinking like, maybe I shouldn't marry her, you know? Because most of the time it's not like all men just want to date you for 7 years and they don't want to marry you. I mean, that's like wasting now a person's time, you know? So don't you think that maybe there are certain traits that
A woman should have.
a woman should have so that the man can sit
Well,
down
the
and say,
only thing I will say is that it's unknown to us what you want.
yeah.
However, I believe that if you are a woman, work on yourself.
True.
Focus on getting to that place where you are confident in yourself, you're secure in the Lord, you are prayerful, because marriage is not for the prayerless. It's for the prayerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to get married, start to remember the word of God also says, he who finds a wife has found a good thing and obtained favor with the Lord. It doesn't mean he who has found a good woman, he who has found a nice chick. He who has
Who
found
finds
a
a
wife,
wife.
right? So you find a wife already. She's
Yeah.
already a wife when you find her.
Ah.
So how do you prepare yourself to be a wife? And it's something that I was talking to someone about. Like, when you're applying for a particular position, okay, I'll give an example of myself. I wanted to be in the media space. I started positioning myself for media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So why are you not positioning yourself? You want to be in accounting. How do you position yourself in accounting? You go to school for it. You do freelance work in accounting firms and all that jazz. So why is it when it comes to serious things like marriage, you don't want to position yourself as a wife? Because remember, the word of God is saying, he who finds a wife. So in actual fact, in the back of your mind, you are not looking for a nice chick. You're looking for a wife.
Yeah.
True.
So if she's still out here, acting like a girlfriend, chances are you're not going to find that appealing.
Yeah.
Sure.
But if she's already acting like a wife, it's in
Right.
the way she walks, it's in the way she dresses, it's
Fast,
in the way
fast.
she talks, it's in the way she carries herself around other men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's in
Yeah.
the way that she treats other people.
Yeah.
Same applies with women. Women, when they're looking for a husband, we're looking for someone who is strong. We're looking for someone who has leadership qualities. Okay, he seems organized. We're looking for someone who, quick thinker, quick
So
on his feet.
I like that.
You know what I
You
mean?
didn't say money.
No,
You
and
said
Money should be there.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
man
but-
should be
but
there.
I agree with
Yeah.
look,
Fungi.
money is not a bad thing.
Sure.
And I want to say this. The problem is now everyone wants a rich guy. Like, guys, just if he, like, one of the things I always say is, can the guy hold a stable job? Is he good at work? Because
Mhm.
that will tell you all you need to know about him. If
Yeah.
he's being bounced from job to job to
Yeah.
job to job,
There's a
he's
problem.
always being fired. Ask,
Yeah,
what's
there's a-
happening?
Yeah.
What's that? Because this is, and you know what? It's not even that we are looking for money.
Mhm.
We're looking for stability.
Mhm.
Stability means the world to
Security.
us
Mhm.
as women, because we are going to give you children.
Mhm.
I want my children going to school. I don't want them missing a day of school.
No.
I want them to eat every day.
Mhm.
So if I'm seeing like here, this brother needs a little bit more training,
Yeah.
I'm a bounce.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's every woman out there that's looking for a rich guy.
Mhm.
I think there's a certain type that are looking for rich guys.
Yeah.
I do believe that nowadays no one wants to build with anyone. They want to find you guys already
Established.
established, which is a pity because there's so much joy and beauty in building with your loved one.
Mm.
There's so much growth for the both of you when you build together. But I do think one of the most important things that we should be looking for in a man, is this a man who loves God? Is this a man after God's own heart? What character does he have? Because the way you treat people will tell me all I need to know about you. If you have a man who treats other people with disrespect, then he respects you, he's a problem. He's a problem. Because one thing that I used to not like about my husband that I have started to appreciate is I don't know if it's the same with you men. Like, men are not very great at keeping up acts for a long period of time, especially if we've been married for a long time.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, for example, you can't, for example, if you're horrible to your sisters and then you're nice to me, what are the chances that in marriage you won't be horrible to me?
No, true.
Right?
True, yeah,
Because that's what you should be looking out for. How does
Yeah.
he treat his mother? How does he treat his sisters?
Yeah.
How does he treat other women? Does he look at them like they're snacks, or does he respect them like they're his sisters?
Yeah.
Because that will tell me all I need to know about the kind of husband he's going to be. And that's how my husband was. My husband, very kind man. And I used to hate that about him. Like, why are you kind to those women? But you know what? It was an indicator of who he was in general. So even when we had problems in the home, he was still kind to me. He still loved me. He still treated me well, and you can't expect, because remember, your heart is one vessel.
Yeah.
Bitterness and love cannot reside in the same space without contamination. So you can't say, oh, I'm a good person, but I've got an attitude problem.
It doesn't make
I
sense.
love people, but they annoy me and I'm short-tempered.
Hey, it doesn't
How?
make sense. How?
How does that even work?
Yeah.
Like, we need to start. We need
Evaluating
to
ourselves.
evaluate ourselves
Yeah.
and stop taking this nonsense from the world that you can be the best of both worlds.
Which is
It's
impossible.
either black or white.
White, yeah.
Yeah.
Before we actually go further, I've got a message, and this one's actually coming from a guy, a gentleman. He says, I'm a 22-year-old guy from Lusaka. I used to date this one girl. It was a long-distance relationship. Everything was going great until we had some personal issues. She was caring and loving. She had all the qualities that I wanted in a lady. Eventually, there was always a guy who she called a friend. He used to call her every time. They would talk for more than an hour. So one day we fought and she got comfort from him. telling him that she misses him, and she said that in my presence. I told her that she should stop talking to him, and she agreed. So yesterday she came to my workplace and had a chat. She started receiving calls from another guy, so she gave me her phone. That's when I got my chance to go through her phone. She still talks to the guy I told her to stop talking to, and I found other guys which I didn't know about. So I ended things with her. She never apologized for her actions and wanted to turn the odds against me. Do you think I did something wrong by ending the relationship?
I can take that one.
Please
I
do.
love those. My favorite. Trust me. Yeah, sure. Well, no, he did a good job to leave the girl.
Yeah.
Number one, and number two, he should have left earlier enough. It's very important, to take note of the cues.
Yeah.
I think women always give you cues to indicate that, okay, they're not into you anymore. Because when a woman loves you, it's not a thing of, oh, does she love me?
Yeah.
Bro, do you think she loves me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very clear. If a woman is into you, it's very clear, 100% clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then a lot of men suffer from denial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You like the woman, she's beautiful, and then it's always stop talking to him, and then she keeps talking to him. That's a clear indication, right? That she's just trying to. She's already left her emotions. She's with another man or other men because perhaps she's not satisfying her in a lot of areas, right? Not only one area. Yeah. So I feel like for men should learn to observe the cues and then act immediately. That saves you the time even to just find women that are actually best fit for you, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes this woman is not even your ideal girl, but she's just there, You fall in love and then she breaks your heart, right? But if you can learn to observe the cues and know when to leave, you'll be a better man and you can find actually better women that are fit for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
What do you disagree with?
Why do you think I'm going to disagree?
I don't know.
I'm just going to say that, look, dynamics are different. If that was his wife, we'd be having an entirely different conversation.
Yeah, true.
But I always tell people that when he's your boyfriend or girlfriend, like, there's no obligations to do anything. Yeah, there's you're not obligated to stay in the relationship. From a Christian standpoint, I mean, I would say that we don't necessarily encourage dating, like especially multiple relationships. When you are deciding to be with someone, it should be clear from the get-go. What are we doing? Is this for marriage? There's no such thing as, we're getting to know each other.
True.
Like,
true. What's the
we
end
should
goal?
decide, like, is this for marriage or
Yeah.
not? Yeah. So where he is, if the goal was never clear from the get-go, and especially considering everything that has happened, hey, he's not obligated to be in any relationship he doesn't want to be in. He didn't put a ring on it. He didn't make a commitment, a lifelong commitment. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Well, we did the right thing by ending things, because I believe that a relationship is an opportunity for you to assess if she's going to be fit for marriage, and if she's behaving like that before the marriage, then chances are then she won't be in it as deeply, because unless the promiscuity starts within marriage, then probably you can work it out. But if it starts before, then chances are she's not going to really be in love with you. Maybe if you get married, it will just be for the sake of saying, let's just get married. But I don't have really any feelings towards you and all that. Yeah, so I believe that he did the right thing by ending things.
And you see, I like what Fungi said when she was narrating her man. She said clearly that her man is the type that was going to decide, right? To decide means to lead. You challenge. You say, okay, you know what? We're going to go east. I want to go west. We're going east. You know what I mean,
doesn't
right?
matter.
That's making a decision, right?
Yeah,
You make a
that's
decide,
making
and
a
then it's the
decision.
same thing, right? You have a woman, a girl, whatever you're calling her, and then you don't like the fact that she hangs out with some other dudes, right? And then you tell her, I don't like that you hang out with other dudes. If she's continuing, then you are failing as a man, right? You're failing to lead your own woman. You're failing to just say, look, I said you're not going to do this.
Or maybe she was just the wrong kind of woman to begin with, because
No, you know what I believe. Right there, he didn't give an ultimatum. You know,
ultimatum was the right word.
Exactly.
Right?
As a man, you need to give an ultimatum. You need to lead. When
Sure.
you say you don't like this, you need to mean it.
Yeah,
You know,
true.
it doesn't
I
matter
agree.
how much you love the person. Love is not kind. Love is hard. You know, love is strict, especially when we're raising our children.
Mhm.
We are not raising them as, oh no, I love you, you can do whatever you want. Is I love you, don't go this side. Don't go to this place. Don't hang out with this person. Love
Yeah.
is very strict. So as a human being, you need to put strict boundaries
Sure.
on the person that you love. And if they don't listen, you need to walk away.
Yeah.
But
have the
I
pride
agree.
to
But
just
don't
walk
you
away.
think that because he said that she was hanging around with different dudes, right? That
Yeah.
would have been an okay fix. But the fact is that she said that she was also messing around with him, cheating on him at the same time. So I think that whatever ultimatum he might give, I
But
don't think
Mr.
it
Laz,
will
I'd like to ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
What can you, okay, since there's a lady here, right?
Yeah.
What can you make of a man who says, I don't like this, and yet, even if you do what he doesn't like, he still comes to you like, oh, I love you, I love you. What can you make of such a man, right?
Weakness.
Well, there's nothing wrong with saying all of that. I just think that if you say you don't like something, you should mean it.
Sure,
Yeah.
You should
sure.
be firm. I was going to correct you and say love is kind, but being
Your
kind
love is
doesn't.
kind. I
But
agree.
being kind,
Love is hard.
but being kind doesn't mean that you're not firm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if, for example, women also want a man who can put them in their place.
True.
Like, do you know when my husband is the most attractive is when he tells me, girl, get yourself together. Like, and he's like, are you serious? Can you control yourself? Where he puts you in your place.
Yeah.
Where I tell him I'm sleeping on the couch and he's like,
Nope.
in this house we don't do that.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you have to be firm. You have to be firm, and I have to know that you mean what you're saying. If I don't, I will take you for granted.
Sure.
It's human nature, you know. And one of the things that I will say is that it's not in our nature as women to be submissive. That is why the Bible instructs us to be submissive.
Mm.
We're not good at it. We're not good at submission.
Mhm.
And this is submission for wives. You can talk about it when you get married, okay?
Mm.
Yeah, your girlfriends don't have to submit to anything. I've heard a lot of single guys say, oh, she's not submissive, but have you married her? Have you put her in the confines of a place where she can safely submit?
Well,
you
I
know?
might think she
Kinda
has to
feel-
be, she has to be submissive before marriage.
Yeah, sure. And I feel like
mean,
girls are
like-
submissive,
Yeah.
Fungi. I really feel that way.
Look.
I mean, if she loves you,
Yeah, if she loves you and if you're leading her,
and if
right?
you're leading her,
Okay, so this is what I will say. This is why I say that dating is not the proper thing. I think from the get-go, decide we are getting married, right? So
But
we
I
are
think
going
maybe
to court.
explaining like from your generation, because your generation probably.
Did you
Yeah.
just say from your generation? Like I'm old.
I mean, think about it.
And let me tell you why I say it. Let me tell you why I say it. I think that I could be old school.
Yeah.
Fault me
Yeah,
for it.
right next to old school lady here, guys.
But let me tell you this. This is why I say from the get-go, you should say what you want.
Yeah.
Mean what you say what you mean.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to marry you.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. How are we going to do this? Well, we're going to court for maybe, say, about 6 months. I'll come meet your family, but we'll let the church know that
getting married.
we are courting, that I have decided
Yeah.
that I want to marry you. Then I'll ask your father in 6 months. I'll come home, ask your father for your hand in marriage, and then we get the ball rolling, right? So chances are, if I'm in that setup, I'm in a safe space.
Yeah.
The people in the church know, our
Yeah.
pastors know that we are actively courting. So no one is seeing other people because this is now for marriage,
Yeah.
right? And this can either work for you or not. You can either choose to use this methodology or not. It's really up to you. You let me know if it works or it doesn't work. But I will tell you from what I have seen in marriages, in relationships that I've actually worked using this, right? So after that, we are courting, so we know that we're going to what? We're going to get married. So of course, I'm posturing myself for marriage. Of course, we're going to make decisions together. Now things like finances, we're deciding together because we're planning a future together. So of course I'm going to be submissive. Of course now I'm going to tell you, oh, this is how much I make. Oh, this is how much you make. Okay, baby, what do we want to do in the next? We want to pay lobola. Okay, how are we gonna go about it? You know what? I'm gonna take care of it. You take care of planning for the wedding. Start saving for the wedding. Lobola will come from me. Okay, that's fine. So that's how I think it should be. I think that's how protective it can be.
Yeah.
Can be,
But
right?
however, if you are in multiple relationships, how many women do you want to submit to you?
All of them.
And how many women? If I am going to date 5 guys, I'm going to submit to 5 guys.
No, but okay,
No,
but
no,
on that
but-
one,
but-
I'm not
no,
in support with what I want to say, but
No,
on that one,
we
I
have
would-
to close the show.
Because I'm just asking.
we have to
I'm
close the
just
show.
Sure.
asking.
Okay,
Yeah, we have
sure.
to close the show. Our producer says, time is up and whatnot.
All right.
So, any last words? Just 20 seconds. Would you go with Luckson?
Sure. Well, I'm closing the show with my remarks concerning the men topic, right? So men want simple things, right? Us men, what we crave for is to feel important. We want to feel important, right? Stroke our egos and we're going to love you, right? And then this comes from obviously submission, like she said, and also the thing of you do something and then you praise us like, oh baby, you're the best, or you carry your woman and say, you know what, I've never been carried this before. Even if you're lying to us, come on, it works, right? So just the thing of feeling importance, I feel like that's what men really want generally. So if you can just work on that as a lady, you might actually keep your man.
Okay,
This is it.
I'll talk about keeping your husband. Like he said, remember that you cannot control him. God has not given you that mandate. However, he has given you the mandate to submit. And submission is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. Anything that has power must operate under submission so that it is controlled power. It is power that is taken to the right place. So submitted women are powerful women. Submitted wives are powerful wives, right? And then I'm also going to say that one of the greatest things that I discovered about marriage is that men and women are not loved the same way. So how I want to be loved is not the way that my husband wants to be loved. I want to be pampered, I want to be held, I want to be kissed, and all those lovely things, right? My husband wants to be respected. So what does love look like for your man? I do know that a lot of men value respect. My husband told me once that if you do not respect me, I will take it that you do not love me.
Yeah.
So respect is a big deal in marriage. Learn what it looks like to respect your husband. Some of us, we kneel, we kneel and we
You kneel?
I do. We kneel and we do this, but our hearts are standing. It will always show eventually.
Yeah.
So respect should come from inside out.
Yeah.
Pray for yourself. Pray for yourself. It's important that you pray for yourself to become a good wife. It's not easy. This assignment to be a wife is not an easy assignment. Don't take it for granted that just because you have good looks and you think you're a good person. If there's a place that I have seen how much I need to work on myself, it's the marriage space. I've seen that, I'm not as good as I thought I was. I'm not as kind as I thought I was.
Yeah.
I need to work on that.
Yeah.
So pray for yourself. Pray for God to give you direction and guidance on how to be a good wife. And if you are in waiting, if you are believing in God for a good husband, as you are praying for a good husband, ask God to teach you how to posture yourself as a good wife.
Amazing.
Sure, nice.
10
Beautiful.
seconds.
As a guy, it's very important for you to have an abundance mindset. Never expect a woman to be loyal to. If she doesn't want to be loyal to, she won't be loyal to. Just move on. Focus on yourself, build your money, and you'll be all good. That's it.
Amazing. So it's been great, it's been fun, it's been amazing. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is the Men's Conference Podcast, and follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, that is the Men's Conference Podcast. It's been DC, my awesome twin brother, that is Lars, and we had Luckson and Mrs. M. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Deuces.